Our behaviors, our actions, everything aligns with our self-worth. So by the end of this video, you're going to get a clear understanding. We're going to be breaking down self-worth to the foundation. Where does self-worth come from? Why do we look at ourselves a certain type of way? And then how to fix it. Now, this isn't going to be a step-by-step process of do this and then do this and then do this, and suddenly you're going to look at yourself and feel amazing. No. In fact, this is about going back to the subconscious and understanding what actually happens and why we view ourselves in a certain way, why do we behave in a certain way, and why we seem to just be happy, sad, something happens, no, I'm not good enough. Now something good happens, I'm good enough, I'm great, and trying to find that middle ground. So first of all, let's start with the definition. Self-worth. Well, the human definition is the internal sense of being good enough and worthy of love and belonging from others. Now, notice how it says the internal sense of being good enough based on behavior, good enough based on our actions and our achievements and our attributes. So what happens when those achievements disappear? What happens when those attributes are not as good as they used to be? Or, I mean, we're changing our skill set, and yet the old skill set started to go and this new skill set's taking a while to develop. What, do we have no self-worth? But God's definition, biblical definition, examine yourself as to whether you are in faith. Test yourself. Do you not know yourself that Jesus Christ is in you, unless indeed you are disqualified? And that's 2 Corinthians 13:5. And that's in the New King James Version. The reason why we read the New King James Version, if we can, is because it's the closest to the Koine Greek. And the Koine Greek is the original language in which the Bible was written in, or the New Testament was written in. So it brings us as close as possible to the original meaning of it. So let's get into why these two things are a contradiction. So if our self-worth, our self-value comes from the human definition, well, it's going to happy, sad. One day you wake up happy, confident, ready for the day. The next day you're like, I don't really rate myself that much. I'm not sure if I can do it. That whole self-doubt thing. If you haven't watched that, go check out the self-doubt video. But it's crippling, man. So we're going to raise our self-worth in accordance and in alignment with what God intends for us, not we intend for ourselves. So let's get into self-worth. Why does it never? I clicked the button and it didn't click. Let's do it again. Bosh. Right, there we go. The mind. So what causes low self-worth? There's a couple of things. Might be different for you. This one might be more prevalent than the other two. But there's 3 words I want us to really focus on when it comes to self-worth, especially having a low self-worth. First of all is comparison. You probably heard it, comparison's the thief of joy. All of these quotes, we need to really break down and understand why. Because if we don't understand why, then they're just quotes. Comparison. The reason why comparison is causing your self-worth to be low is because it is a symptom of spiritual amnesia, which simply means comparison is a symptom of being in your body, recognizing yourself as a body and not as a spirit. As soon as you take yourself out of the spirit and you put yourself into the body, then we compare ourselves. So it's comparison is forgetting that you are a spiritual being. Now, I believe we're a spiritual being. We won't get into all that. This is about self-worth. But if you see yourself as simply a human, as in the flesh, the body, then you will continue to compare yourself with other people. What other people have, their achievements, their height. That's actually a really good one. I'm going to be really transparent because that's what it's about. I'm quite a short guy. You can't really tell because I look 6 foot on the camera. But I'm quite a short guy. And growing up, I had pretty much, I believe I have most things apart from height. And I always used to think to myself, flip. And a couple of my guys are tall. I've got tall friends, which just make me look even shorter than I actually am. And I look at them and I'm like, flip, man. If only I was the minute that you do that, every single time that you do that, you have spiritual amnesia. You are forgetting that you are a spiritual being. Very, very interesting. So yeah, I try to do a little bit less. Sometimes I see basketball players and I'm like, flip, you lot are tall. But the moment we get into that, or the moment that we compare on a humanistic level, on the body level, at the level of the body, then we're taking ourselves away. Now, notice that I said comparison is the symptom of spiritual amnesia. Now, if we're comparing what we are with what we could be, that is different. Now, the reason why I use the height one is because it's an uncontrollable. I'm going to use a different one. If you're currently out of shape, you're not in good shape. First of all, let's think about how that's going to tie into our self-worth. We're not the best version of ourselves. That's going to tie into our self-worth. And second of all, it's changeable. There is something you can do about it. Now, comparison is the symptom of spiritual amnesia when we're comparing ourselves on things that we have no control over. If you can control or influence and change it, then you should probably start to change it. Within reason. If you're out of shape, get in shape. I'm not saying go get a boob job or go chop your nose off. That's what I'm saying. I'm saying if you can improve it and you have the ability, which we all have the ability to improve our situation, then improve it. But something like height or something like, I don't know, what's another one? Our ears. If your ears are like that, no problem. Not much you can do about it. Next one, shame. So shame disconnects us and it forms a false identity. So you'll notice that for you lot, we've been there. We've all been there. We've all loaded up the adult site one time, or we've all loaded up something that we shouldn't be doing, or sent a risky text message. Now look, if you do that, instantly after, you feel shame. You're like, oh, I'm dirty. And truthfully, we are. The body is dirty. However, and this is where we're getting into, you didn't see anything. We'll go back to this slide. The body is dirty. The human definition is dirty. And that's why there's a contradiction to God's definition. God's definition is examine yourself as to whether you are in faith. Test yourself. Do you not know yourself that Jesus Christ is in you, unless indeed you are disqualified? Now, what makes you disqualified is if you are in the human definition and the human condition. But that's another video. Let's get back. What was doing? Right. So shame disconnects us from God's definition of us and our value. If God dwells within us, then we cannot be shameful of our identity. Next one. Ego. Ego is the enemy. Fantastic book by Ryan Holiday. I recommend you read it. Ego seeks validation. Now, ego feels fantastic when things are going well. However, when things are not going well, ego feels horrible. The reason why, have you ever said, that hit my ego, or that bruised my ego? If you don't have an ego, it cannot be bruised. Ego seeks the external to boost it. Little dopamine hits based on what goes on around us. However, seeks validation, but without it, worth disappears too. So if these achievements around us disappear, then our worth disappears with it. Now, let's go back to the definition. God's definition. Examine yourself as to whether you are in faith. Test yourself. Do you not know yourself that Jesus Christ is in you, unless indeed you are disqualified? Now, ego disqualifies us. Why? Because ego puts us into the human condition. It puts us into the human definition. Now, I'm making this video because I'm making this video for myself as much as I'm making it for anybody else. If you're watching this and you're thinking, yeah, that's right. Every time I feel low self-value, it's because of my ego. I feel shameful about something that I've done, not knowing that a million other people in the world just done the exact same thing at the exact same time, because we are human. Or if we're comparing, millions of people are comparing themselves with somebody else on social media right now. But the shame disconnects us from that and makes us feel as if it is just us. So this is what causes us to have low self-value, is when we lean into these three things. And notice that all three of these things, comparison, shame, and ego, are all human condition. So if our definition of self-value is, let's go back again one more time. If our definition of self-value is the internal sense of being good enough and worthy of love and belonging from others, the internal sense of being good enough, if that is our definition of self-worth, then our self-worth is going to go like this. for the rest of our life. I don't know what that was. That was that's a better wave. It's going to be up, down. So let's get, as I said, look, this ain't about doing some magic fixes. It's a very simple, I'm going to make myself massive. Look, this is actually very simple. Notice how there's no title. I'm not saying do this, do that, do that, do, you know what I mean, change this. That's not what it's about. But what we have to do in order to start working on these things, or in order to start working on these internal issues that we face, whether that is self-doubt, self-value, depression, anxiety, disbelief, spiritual amnesia, disconnecting, social anxiety, blah, 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 list goes on. We have to look at the North Star of that word. So, for example, the North Star is just the polar opposite of the word that we've used. So, comparison. Remember, we used comparison. Comparison, what's the opposite of comparison? Is to seek similarity. I'm going to let that marinate for a minute. It's to seek similarity. So, well, again, we'll go back to the example. My 6 foot friends, which all of them seem to be 6 foot. It's actually a little bit frustrating. I haven't got any friends that are like 5'5" or 5'6". They're all quite tall. I got one that's like 5'9". But other than that, yeah, they're all quite tall. But anyways, see, I'm comparing. Comparison. The opposite of it is to seek similarity. Now, obviously, in the context of this, in the good way, would be to seek positive similarity. So, for example, I've got my tall friend. He's really tall. And I'll see him, and he has a good quality. One of my tall friends I can think of specifically. I won't name him. But he's very kind. He's very, very kind and generous to people. Every single time we meet him, the strangers, that's everybody. Now, I will look at that similarity, and I'll be like, oh, that's a quality that I like. And somebody's called me that before. And do you know what? Oh, sick. It's positive comparison. It's seeking similarity. Now, the next one, shame. What's the opposite of shame? Now, is pride. Now, pride, we're warned against, because pride is connected to ego, funny enough. Now, this is where definitions of words and reframing is extremely important, because some words can be so close together that if we don't separate them, then we can fall into either one. So pride and ego is easy to fall into if we don't define them properly. So pride is the opposite of shame. However, the Bible says to be boastful. The Bible says to be boastful in the Lord, which means out of ourselves. So our value, again, coming from God's point of view, coming from God's definition, is not us. It is God that dwells within us. So we need to be boastful and remember that we're not boasting about ourselves nor our abilities, but the abilities of God that dwells within us, if that makes sense. I know that is a bit technical, but stay with me. Ego. The opposite of ego is simply humility. And I'll be really honest and transparent. Humility is something that I've struggled with for years. Reason being because I think I'm very good at quite a few things. However, we'll go back to the second thing, is that I am not very good. God is very good and he dwells within me. None of us are good. None of us are good. However, we have goodness in us, but the goodness in us is not us. I hope this makes sense, which helps us with our ego and our humility, which means we can still recognize that we are good at things. We can still recognize our talents and our abilities. The Bible says that there's over 27 talents and abilities and gifts that are given to us, to different people. Some people have more than one. However, our gifts, and we all have one, our gifts are not a reflection of us. And somebody else could have a better gift than you. So we'll go back to the example. 6 foot friend. I know that maybe, I don't know, so I'm better than him at football, whatever. He's incredible at sales. He's a lot better than me. He's very good at, he's set up a business and he's smashing it and he's done that. And I'm like, wow, sick. So he knows things that I don't know. He is good at stuff that I am not currently good at right now. So then the things that I'm good at, it balances it out. So instead of looking at, I'm good at this thing, they're not. We look across the board and say, if we go across the board, there's probably quite a few things that they're better than me at, and it balances it out. And that allows us to get rid of or dampen our ego and step into humility. Humility is difficult to step into if we don't look at it the right way. Humility is not about saying you're not good at anything. That's not humility. Humility is about recognizing that other people in other areas are better than you at the thing that you, let me reword that. Humility is accepting that other people are better than you in other areas than you, and that there is a thing that you're really good at, and you know it. We know the things that we're good at, but we need to accept. And humility is simply accepting that people have so many different talents, and the person you're speaking with, whether that's a bin man or a billionaire, that person is better than you at something. Whether they've discovered it or not, they are better than you at something. So listen and cut the ego and recognize that, oh, right, we're on a similar playing field. I hope that makes sense. I hope it's quite practical and it's not nonsense. Love. I haven't got to the end actually, but yeah, simply self-value is an interesting one, because when we step into too much value, we think, we're being arrogant. If we haven't got enough value, we think do you know what I mean? It feels horrible, and neither are true. And that God's definition is simple. Examine yourself as to whether you are in faith. Test yourself. Do you not know yourself that Jesus Christ is in you, unless indeed you are disqualified? And remember, what makes us disqualified from experiencing this high level of self-worth is when we lean into the self, as in the human condition and the human definition, which is based on being good, and not being good based on our qualities and attributes and talents and skills and blah, 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 and not as in how we are created in the image of God. So love for the love, always. See you in a bit.